Cool. Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to look quickly at some continuations, but more specifically dump continuations. But maybe some of the stuff that I'm looking at is kind of um, is generally different types of things, but more specifically maybe dump continuations. So hopefully you can see and hear all of this okay on my screen. Last time there was loads of issues, but I'll turn the volume down. It was quite loud earlier. What should we watch? Frisbee or Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator? Oh yeah, that's a good video actually. I have watched it. Maybe we can watch that afterwards. So this first clip, we're just looking at a simple backwards dump swing, and then we have a person who comes back to get the continuation. So if we just look at it.
Almost got it back.
So backwards dump, and then beautiful continuation.
Valeria Cardenas.
And then
Mascara to the
nearly
end
another
zone.
perfect continuation into the end zone, but not quite. For anybody who's interested, this is from 2016, when the World Ultimate Championships was in London. So don't know if anybody went to see this game, but just play it again. So this is a good example of even when it's really messy. So if we go back to when this person gets the disc, it's really messy. We don't really have a stack going on, but we still have a person who's heads up and needs to go back to get the disc. So our kind of two rules, if the disc goes backwards, so is dumped kind of either horizontally or this person catches it like back here, then we want the front of stack goes and gets the disc. If the disc goes slightly forwards, so if instead this person was like about here, so I don't know, it would be like an inside shot that this person would throw, and she might if this person was over here, she would catch it. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. So when Dan did it, you can see his mouse. He was just like, oh, over here, and I was like, I don't know where it is. But if this person is up here, then we would want the back of stack as a continuation. So if it goes backwards, it's front of stack. Forwards, it's back of stack. Just so that we have more space. If we have the front of stack go when it goes backwards, then it's kind of like a 5 to 10 meter throw. And if we have the back of stack when it goes forwards, it's also a 5 to 10 meter throw. If we had it where we had the front of stack go when it went forwards as well, then the throw becomes like very short. But that's a very general rule for kind of our vert stack. But as we can see from the clips I'm going to play, that there's lots of different variations on dump stack or dump continuations. But yeah, that's our first one. Front of stack comes back,
Cardenas.
and then they have a great chance to have another continuation, which unfortunately it was a bit windy, and I think that maybe made a difference. Cool.
Let me know contest.
Nice. So our next one is an example of if you don't have that continuation, what goes wrong. So if we just watch the clip.
Faye from the DC area slips it through. This is Rory Titcomb. Oh, mistake, and it's the back.
So if we go back to the start of this one, so I think maybe normally there's a continuation that normally happens, so whether that's front of stack continuation or but no one initiates it and everybody stands still. So it's always really important that we understand who's going to go for either a continuation is in like a cut or continuation from like the front of stack or wherever it is. But we see here we've got a nice dump cut, goes upfield, and then kind of no one really goes for it. They all kind of clear out. She gets a bit lost and probably holds it for a bit too long.
Oh, mistake, and it's the back of the end zone bid from Nazarov to keep.
So if instead we go back to the start of this clip.
Bay from the DC area. Slips it
Instead,
through.
if we had this person come a bit later, she would be coming from about front of stack, and then we would have some sort of continuation going on there, which just keeps the disc moving. If we keep the disc, then most of the time their defensive pressure is going to go up the more you keep the disc, and then it's just a lot harder. Cool.
And yet is still playing.
Right. So this one is kind of a slightly different thing to talk about, but it is a dump continuation, and it's why dump continuations are super important if you have if you do the other team is doing a zone. So if we just watch Colombia in this clip, and we can see at some points they don't have a continuation to happen, and it really slows down and it makes it really tricky for them to get out. And then other points they can move it really quickly, and because they've got that another person who's coming back to get it or doing a little pop pass, so really short pass to another person. So if you just watch this.
Playing out there with a cast. Makes the two-handed grabs a little painful.
Great patience on display, and I think the Colombians have gotten some confidence by playing through the Japanese here in the semifinals. That was an extremely tough test.
From end zone to end zone.
So in this middle bit here, where we see them just kind of slowly walking up the pitch doing those give and go movements. So a give and go is when one person gets it and they kind of the next person gets it again. So you give it to someone and then you go get it, which is why it's called give and go. So she gives it and then
great patience
she goes and
on
gets
display,
it again.
and I think the Colombians have gotten some confidence by playing through the Japanese
kind of
here
thing.
in the semifinals.
And this kind of give-go movement is even more important now the rules have slightly changed, so that you can you're less likely to travel when you're doing this. So if you see they're kind of moving quite a lot whilst they have the disc. So it used to be that you had to make sure that you were slowing down, but now you can keep moving as long as you don't keep the disc for 3 steps. So you still have to get rid of the disc in 3 steps, but you don't have to slow down while you're doing that. So you can like speed catch, speed throw, if that makes sense. Cool. Next one. As we saw before, we saw an example of people near the end zone and there was no obvious continuation, where this is an example of they've really drilled it well and there's a everybody knows who's going to go next and there's a good continuation and it's an easy score.
Not much movement downfield, a little bit confusion, almost as if there was a foul call.
And everybody stopped like there was
A little bit.
So I think there was a little bit of confusion at the start of the clip, because I think someone falls over here and person on disc thinks that it maybe is foul call. But you should always keep on playing until something is called. So if we see this again, we've got a dump that goes on, and then at the same time we've got someone who's ready to go from the back of stack. And it's an easy 1-2 because this person is behind, so it makes it really easy for these shots to go.
A call, but
so that's an example of a simple from dump to end zone continuation.
Hoffman.
Cool.
Titcomb uses her jersey to
So if we just watch it and then we can talk about it.
Just be as comfortable with.
Titcomb uses her jersey to dry off the disc. Snyder ahead for Boscher. And you see that happen sometimes on a...
An unfortunate, very wet turnover. But this is an example of one type of continuation from a dump. So you've had someone...
You might not just be as comfortable
I'll
with.
get to the bit of it. You had someone cut under,
Victim
so
uses
it's
her
just a
jersey
normal
to
cut.
dry off
It's not
the
really a
disc.
continuation. But then we have someone... the person who cut, they give it back to one of the handlers. So this little motion here, she's cut under, she can't see anything because she's facing this way. But this person, she can see the whole field and she has her defender behind her. So she has a massive advantage here, which is why this kind of 1-2 move is like super important. And there's a few other clips that we'll look at. So this person, yeah, as Dan said, she has unlimited power because she's in power position, which is when she has the disc, her defender's a bit behind and she's moving forwards. So you kind of have your momentum with her, and therefore kind of that is like why it's called a power position, basically. But if we see this again, so this
Victim
kind of
uses her jersey to dry off the disc.
giving it to someone who can see is really
Snyder ahead
like a massive
for
thing, so that
Boscher.
they can do a
And
really
you see
easy
that happen
continuation to someone
sometimes on
who's
a wet
also
day.
cutting. So I have another example of how giving it back to the handler can be like a massive advantage. So if we see this clip.
Won 4 years ago. Australia handily took it. Their hooks look to be on point. But on the other hand, the Japanese, they run a very unorthodox system on offense. Tough to defend. Going to be a great game here today.
Australia begins on offense. Peter Blakely, one of the leading stat makers for the Dingoes, looking to Neild, an angled shot. Neild rises for the score. The first punch thrown from the Australians.
So if we just go back and we see the points where it's just a normal cut, and the points where we have that really nice continuation where they give it back to the handler, and the bits where they give it back to the handler, it's so much more flow. It shows how powerful this is.
Australia handily took it.
So
Their
being
hooks look to
really
be on
aware as a
point.
handler
But
that you
on the
can
other
get
hand,
this
the Japanese,
continuation
they
is
run
really important.
a very unorthodox
So
system on offense.
static
Tough
here.
to defend. Going to be a
This
great
person has
game
to turn
here
around
today.
to look,
Australia
but this
begins on
so much more
offense.
flow is going on.
Peter
Another
Blakely,
static one, and
one
then
of the
realizing
leading
there's more flow,
stat makers
and
for the Dingoes,
having the ability
looking
to
Neild,
have lots
an
of
angled
space.
Stat makers
The defense is a
offense.
bit weird, the way that
Peter
he
Blakely,
steps back.
one of the leading stat.
But because they're both running forwards, kind of the Japanese defender here, it takes him a bit longer to kind of get his force on, which means that another power position type thing, being able to throw long, which means that we have a lovely score into the end zone.
For the Dingoes, looking
using
to
the fact
Neild,
that
an angled
most of the
shot.
Australian team
Neild
is
rises for the score.
2 feet taller than
The first
Japanese
punch
team.
thrown from the.
Nice. Cool.
Well, the rain has.
So in the other examples, we saw kind of someone different who was getting the disc back, but this is an example where this is a complete give and go. So it's a continuation from one person throws it and then they go and get it back again.
Lightened up considerably. We have seen these intermittent storms throughout the week. USA catches a break there as Groom sneaks in. Wide open across the field was Mira Walker. Could not find.
So if we just go back to the bit where it happens. So we have a little bit of a missed throw that goes on here.
Well, the rain has lightened up considerably.
But
We've seen
the
these
USA are
intermittent
kind of
storms
heads
throughout
up and
the
someone
week.
gets it. So
USA
she
catches a break there as Groom
gives it back
sneaks in.
and then she goes and gets it. And it's a great continuation within the dump kind of positioning to kind of just get loads of space. Her defender's going to be behind her.
USA.
Because if the defender is doing a proper force, they should be on the other side.
We've seen these intermittent storms throughout the week.
So she sets up the disc, sets up the force, and then she's already behind, which means that number 7 can make loads of yards,
USA
move up
catches
the
a break
pitch,
there as Groom
and get the
sneaks
disc back.
in.
And probably if it wasn't so wet and windy, these two people will be a great chance to just throw it long. But she decides to kind of not throw it because maybe she's not much of a handler, or the weather conditions as well. Cool. And then the final clip from me
We might.
is just looking at so continuations from a side stack. So before, when I talked about that we have our front of stack coming back, which is what we saw in the first clip, it can be a little bit different if you're in a side stack formation. So we see here we have Japanese players all on this far sideline. We have two handlers going on here, and we're just going to see them do a bit of a continuation, which maybe is a little bit wrong to start off with, and then they do another continuation, which is a bit better
We have
afterwards.
a majestic rainbow here on field 1 before the day is over. We had one yesterday on the adjacent fields, about a half kilometer in front of us.
Great marking here by the Australians, really staying off the mark, cutting off the angles, not trying to mark too tightly, knowing that the Japanese love to break.
So if we go back, and we can see the first time they tried to do the continuation, that there was a little bit of indecision between the players on the Japanese team.
We might have a majestic
it's not on upfield, so he decides to dump it to this person.
rainbow here on
Does a
field
nice
1
dump through.
before the day is.
And you can see here that the person in the white hat isn't sure who's meant to be going for this dump, and by the time that they realise they go for it, he kind of runs to the wrong side. So he should probably be running out to this spot here to get like a nice swing across. But he's not quite sure, and therefore is a bit late on his cut, and therefore it doesn't go to him. Then we just have
Great
some
marking
kind of
here by the
dumping,
Australians, really staying off the mark, cutting off the angles, not trying to mark too
some
tightly.
more swings going on, and then we have a nice front of stack continuation because the disc went backwards, front of stack comes back.
Love to break,
and we make quite a lot of yards by doing
tightly,
that.
knowing that the Japanese love
so we've
to break,
made probably about 10 yards
get
or so.
to the break side of the field.
Matsuno plays through the bump of.
But yes, that's me done talking. Thanks for listening to me. So that was just a kind of a general overview of some different things that you can do from continuations, especially in dump. And I think Phoebe's going to go through some more specifics and get you all to make some decisions as well. So I just stop sharing, then you can share.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna play a clip and then pause when I just as the dump throw's been thrown, and then it's gonna be who should be the continuation. So Dan, if I could have a poll, which is who should be the continuation, and then just front of stack or back of stack. So this first clip we have Neil is just run under to catch the disc, and I think there's a handle here, and then I think someone else is here. So Neil throws this dump throw. Who should be the continuation? Yeah, so everyone's saying front of stack. Correct. Starting off with a pretty simple example. So this is probably the most often situation. Neil. How can Neil be? Oh, right. Yeah, it could be Neil. Yeah, that would also work. But what does happen, you can't really see because of the camera angle, but Akash, who was front of stack, runs under. But yeah, as Hannah was saying, definitely Neil could have come across, especially because the dump was so far back. A bit of a super dump. Neil could have just come and got a quick give and go. Because Akash, this is quite a long cut. So yeah, thanks, Stan. extra options. If anyone ever has any extra secret third options, feel free to just put them in the chat, because it is not always just front or stack or back of stack. Okay, next one stands on this. So we have here, we're doing a bit of a handler reset. So Dan decides he doesn't want to throw to Carver, so he fakes him. And as soon as Carver's faked, well, pretty soon after Carver's faked, he then runs up the line to get the disc. So Carver runs. Who should be the continuation off of Carver's catch? Back of stack. Yeah, so we can see Neil standing in the stack, not particularly looking like he's planning on doing a continuation. What ends up happening is sort of no one does a continuation. Always Neil. Yeah. So this is why it's really important to be heads up and super aware of when it's your turn to do continuation and when it's not. Because we have Neil sort of doesn't do a continuation, and then Ben's like, maybe it should be me, and then both of them sort of end up cutting a bit at the same time. It works out in this situation, but you see a lot of turnovers from multiple people cutting into the same space and then neither of them getting the disc. So yeah. Next one. So this is immediately off the pull. So you see a nice little dump throw off the pull to get a couple of extra yards. So at this point, I mean, there's not. Why you're on cooldown?
This is why you have to buy the glasses.
I need to talk more slowly, clearly. Going through the clips quicker than Polbot can keep up. So in this situation, the stack isn't fully set up yet. Obviously because we're just running off the pull. So I don't know who front of stack and back of stack would be in this situation. Rising up. But yeah, if there was a stack, then it would be back of stack because we've gone forwards. But I mean, Hannah sort of becomes back of stack and then cuts under. It's mostly just important in that situation that someone is heads up and like getting the continuation going. You don't need to be standing there thinking there's no stack. It means I don't have to run or whatever. Yeah. Next one. So, yeah. So we had a little backwards dump throw. Who should be the continuation? So in this situation, we can consider secret third option, as Hannah said. So Hannah's just gone, she was back of stack and she's just cut under here. So if Hannah didn't exist in this situation, then Jenny as front of stack could make a nice continuation into this area. But this is something, always Neil. This is something that happens a lot in this game. It's called like a 7 cut. So you cut under and you can see Hannah then runs across. So yeah, secret third option. Yeah, unfortunately Neil wasn't playing, otherwise I'm sure I would have gone to him. Cool. And then some nice couple more continuations. Now from Swansea. Too much time talking to Oscar. Okay. Next one. So we have Sean has the disc here. He's just caught it. So here we probably don't need a poll because we know it's always Neil. It's quite obvious at this point. Something I wanted to point out with this one though is the timing on this cut. So in a couple of the other examples, you can see there's a throw and then everyone sort of stands around a bit and then maybe someone cuts. But Neil cuts like even before Akash has caught the disc. So that means as soon as Akash has caught the disc, he can then turn and throw to Neil. So yeah, this is Neil doing it perfectly. I mean, he doesn't get thrown to, but he was very free and could have been, could have easily been thrown to. Nailed it, and Dan scores. So probably good that Neil wasn't thrown to. Okay, next one. So Jessie's on disc here. She's just walking up to the front of the game. So yeah. So this goes a stump throw and goes backwards. Who should be the continuation? A bit of a spoiler. Sorry. But I mean, both. I've started running for continuation, but Jessie has also immediately started running. So it could be either of us. So in this situation, it's actually neither. So I get faked off. And then we actually have a sneaky extra cut from the back. But what I wanted to say was to make sure, yeah, I can't believe you didn't think of that, Dan. Wow. Is making sure that if you come under this continuation, then you're not just like hanging around in this space, because this is like at the moment like the easiest space to throw into. So if I just ran here and was like clogging up the space, then that would be real bad, and Hannah wouldn't have been able to get this throw off. So and normally best decision is just yeet it deep, well, run deep and just get out of the way. Holbot doesn't like you today, Dan.
Oh dear.
No one, as that implies you've done the diff. You only hugs.
Okay, I'm confused why it didn't work.
I think you've broken it.
Oh, it's
Okay.
just loading.
Polbot's never been worked so hard in its life. Okay. So now final clip is a bit of a combo one. So I think there's like 3 different throws. So we can see this nice man is pointing for, I think, Carver's on the disc. He's gonna come and take it to the line, and then there's a dump here off the screen.
I think Carver takes about 20 minutes to go get this
Yeah.
if I remember.
Yeah. So Dan is faked and runs up the line. The question is, who should be his continuation? Well, that's a good pause shot. So I mean, Neil is here. He's looking like he could be ready to cut. Yeah. So I think that where's Charlie? Isn't Charlie back a stack? I don't remember.
That's what I was going to say. Charlie's behind these two.
This is Dan Brown, and I think these are the options. Drown. So we just. Why does Polbot only have 3? It only has an A and a B.
The bot's really struggling, I think.
Oh dear.
Oopsie. Okay.
Yeah. So 3 options. Front of stack. This isn't really a great option because I mean I think Neil is actually front of stack, so he's behind Dan at this point. So it doesn't make massive sense. So the 2 options are really Dan, who's just done a cut and was clearing out, so he could do a little turnaround and a cheeky little cut under and get the disc. Or if Dan continued to clear out, then I think Charlie could cut into this space as well. Yeah. Okay.
It's not
Poor
given
bot doesn't have any
anything.
options. Oh dear. There you go.
Oh, he's just a bit slow.
I think either option is an option. Unfortunately, neither option gets taken, so everyone who voted for neither of the options was correct. Good job. And we can see Dan's famous. Where are all my continuations go? So then he dumps it back, and who is it? How every clip I found it's Neil for the continuation. It's almost impressive at this point. But here there's a little bit of confusion. Maybe because Neil wasn't really fun to stack, and then he like comes in. Actually, no, I'm not sure what Akash was doing. Akash did the classic middle of the stack continuation. But yeah, you can see Neil goes to get the continuation and then stops because Akash was running. I mean, it worked out in the end, but yeah, ideally you only ever want one person to be running into space. Otherwise, it's a harder throw and you have twice as many defenders there, and it just gets a bit messy.
Neo has magical senses. The fact that he somehow knew that Akash was running for it and was going to catch it in that situation.
Akash is just so loud when he runs.
Yeah, and we have another. This whole little point is a bit of a mess. We have another two people cussing. But yeah, as soon as the front of stack continuation goes, it should be back to normal. Cuts from the back of stack. No, none of this mess. Yeah, very sad. Sad turnover. If only Neil was there for the continuation. Or was that Henry's calling pick? Maybe it wasn't a turnover. Oh, wait, no, it is a turnover. Not me not knowing the rules.
Charlie then called a pick on offense, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all from me. Probably for the best, for the good of Polbot.
Indeed. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Hope you learnt something, or just I don't know, watch some more frisbee. It's always fun. We have a very exciting stream happening this Saturday, where we have GB coach Callum Spears and GB player Rupal Galani, who are coming and doing doing a session on defense. They're both incredibly knowledgeable people, and it's a great chance to come and former Rice Frisbee legends, you mean? Yeah, indeed. Rupal went to dance school. But a great chance to learn some stuff from them, ask a few questions maybe. But yeah. Why did you respond yuck? Says Felix. But that's this Saturday at 3 o'clock, if I'm correct. Yeah, this Saturday at 3 o'clock. And then this Sunday we have our interactive training actually happen because it's much nicer weather this week than it has been for a few weeks. So we will be doing a session then as well. But really, hope to see you on Saturday. Hopefully it will all be recorded as well, but yeah, a great chance to actually talk to people in person maybe, or ask a few questions, or just listen. But yeah, thanks all for coming, and have a good evening.